Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
Allie B.
And Eric B.
Today, we are joined by our very special guest, Drew. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing pretty good, man.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And where are you currently, and where are you from?
Currently, I'm hanging out on a little island in the Gulf of Thailand.
That's so rad.
And but originally, I'm from the suburbs of central New Jersey.
Nice.
Wait. So, do you claim the Philly? Do you claim Philadelphia, or do you claim New York? For your fandom.
Well, so I grew up in central New Jersey, which there is actually a thing if you're from there.
Yeah.
But then I got clean. My recovery journey actually started down south, so outside, Philly, to southern New Jersey.
All right. So, when were you first introduced to recovery?
January of 2006.
Nice.
It was recommended that I attend a meeting for 100.
And how long have you been clean?
Since then. So the recovery journey's been going on since then.
So
although in my later years,
Go ahead.
Some people might make judgments about things, but we can talk about that later.
Yes,
controversy.
please.
We
Yes,
love it.
let's talk
about
Love it. Fantastic. We are more than willing to.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
all of us are.
Absolutely. But with all that out of the way, and without further ado, we'd like to turn it over to you to share your story with us. So take it away. Pitter patter.
Let's
All
go.
right, cool. Yeah, so my name is Drew. Thanks for having me. I'm a person in long-term recovery, right? That's the proper way to say it, as I've been told in my times. 14 plus years in a recovery process that started with seeing a counselor guy. It was somatic psychology or somatic counseling, so it's kind of body and mind therapy, which was cool.
Yeah.
Because I was such bullshit at that point that just talking to me wasn't really going to get anywhere. So
Yeah.
we had to listen to my body too.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy recommended 12-step meetings. So I went and I checked that out, and he said I should go to those meetings. So I went to one, and then I came back and I'm like, all right, it was cool. He's like, no, you have to keep going.
Nice.
So I kept going, and I was a little resistant at first, but then
Which fellowship did you
just
attend?
clicked. I started off in Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay. Cool.
Because I guess drugs were cooler to me than drinking, so I wanted to go to the cooler kids club.
Absolutely.
That's where the cool kids are.
Yeah, the cool kids are totally in NA.
All the terminally hip.
Yeah.
Fatally cool.
All those kids that sat in the back of the school bus and thought they were just the shit. Yeah.
Some of us still do.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's
I feel like that was
the short bus, so all the seats are the back of the bus. So
Nice.
no, continue. Sorry.
I was never that kid though. I was more I had tons of potential, and was honor student early on. I did well in school, but people were just so weird and confusing to me, so I didn't do good socially.
Eric's nodding in agreement.
What's that?
Eric's nodding in agreement.
Dude, animals are just better than
okay.
people.
Yeah.
It's science.
Well, I wasn't good with the social stuff because I've come to find out later in life it's most people are just bullshit, and then with a thin layer of pretending they know what's going on.
Yeah.
So as a kid and being super empathic, right? So I'm pretty sensitive and emotionally attuned.
Yes.
I used to think that was because I had superpowers. I think that's a little bit to do with it, but I've come to learn in the recovery process that it's also because I needed to be finely tuned to the emotions of everyone around me, including my caregivers, in order to feel like even a little bit safe. So the combination of those two things really cued me into emotional states, but most people aren't cued into their own emotions. So it was super confusing for a while. And I'm jumping back and forth. So,
It's a Tarantino film. It's good.
Say it again.
It's a Tarantino film. It's good.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. There you go. So I got introduced to 12 steps. Yeah, the 12 steps opened up a new way to live. And then as a result of doing the work in the 12-step program, like doing the steps along with the therapy that I did for like 4 years, then I started to unlock, the fact that maybe it wasn't just drugs and alcohol that was the issue, that maybe there was something underneath it. And and then that facilitated insights like, I guess, what I just shared. So yeah, and I guess, we'll jump back there now. So young kid, suburban New Jersey. So, people were confusing. School was okay, but like I just was growing more and more, like, and again, all this insight is looking back. I had no clue in the moment. When I was younger, I was just, trying to hold on, and not doing a good job of it because I wasn't really introduced to, emotional awareness or coping skills early on. So then in like junior high, then marijuana and alcohol started showing up. And what I've realized too, looking back, is I enjoyed the buzz or the high of, getting tuned up with friends. I also really, really liked the social acceptance that came with it. Like now I was like one of the guys who was smoking the joint, or one of the dudes who was, getting drunk and going to school in the morning. Like I had there was like a sense of belonging that wasn't there before. And, so that kind of social acceptance along with the drugs and alcohol just kind of sparked a more regular experience of putting stuff in me and, and putting other stuff in me. And, so then by high school, I was like already probably in the grip of addiction, but it hadn't really gotten ugly yet. So I was able to, pretend a little bit and blame everybody else and justify it and all that stuff. And then I went away to college, and an addiction, like, can hide and blossom really well in a college environment. So that's what happened for me. And then I dropped out of college after, I was in school for 5 semesters, so like 2.5 years, and I got 15 credits. Like I passed 5 classes.
That doesn't quite add up.
No, it does.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it does. It very much does.
Yeah. Well, that's where I did my advanced degree in
drugs.
Better living through chemistry and exploring the different realms and all that.
Molecular biology.
Yeah. I think, dude, I spent like a semester on acid. I think it was like days at a time with like short breaks. It got hairy, man. It got real weird.
What time era is this?
Like right around the turn of the century, like Y2K.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a good time.
That'd be pretty scary to be tripping on Y2K.
What? You weren't?
Yeah, it was like Y2K through friggin' 9/11. That was like the time window.
God, that is a terrible zone of acid. Ooh. You come out of that hole and you're like, what has happened to the world?
Yeah, it was a trip for sure.
For sure.
So that happens while I'm at school, college, the first time, and then I pulled out of school. I went and was an assistant manager at a restaurant because I had an uncle who was like a regional manager, so he like, got me into a job because the thought process was if we change the geographics and then also get me a job and keep me busy, then I won't do those bad things.
Yeah.
Again, no real understanding in my family of what was actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they knew I had drug issues, but not like an understanding of like, why the drug issues were manifesting. So then I just hopped around, like I didn't hold a job. I moved a couple times. Cause like getting high was the most important thing. And then I like worked enough to like make people think I had my shit together while really I was just like a fiend on the inside.
Yeah.
And then I always switched substances. Like I didn't. It was one of the ways I like hid it from myself and other people too. Anytime it was becoming obvious that I had a particular. What's that?
Eric, once you said switching substances, Eric was like, yep, I know that.
And early, you know what I mean? And then you just kind of mix them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes in
I'm all
all
about that.
Yeah. For me, it was a nice way to like hide from myself and other people that there was an issue.
Yeah.
Like, if I was fall down drunk, or blackout drunk at a family event, then, I just went to smoking pot for the next, 6 months or so. So, yeah. And then eventually I wound up in Florida by myself. I told my family and everybody else to fuck off because they didn't know what they were talking about. And it was their problem.
Of course.
And I got DUI down there. And a DUI is a criminal offense in Florida, so they lock you up.
Yep.
And so I got to drool on myself in an orange jumpsuit and lock up there and, detoxing and contemplating my life in the dumpster fire that it was.
Yeah. And in a Florida jail, that's got to be the worst place to do that contemplation.
Yeah.
It was rough. I was like, I was coming off of a handful of stuff, super dehydrated, and all they had was like milk and bologna sandwiches.
Oh yeah, the sweaty meat sandwich. Yep.
Milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically water with like white food dye in it. It's not milk.
Why wouldn't they just give you water?
Because nothing makes sense in jail.
Yeah, but
or in Florida.
Milk is fucking gross.
Dude, in Philly jail, all I had was Diet Wawa iced tea. It is
Wawa iced tea?
Yeah.
That's kind of on brand for Philly, though. Like,
yeah, but it is... Have you ever had that? It's terrible.
Well, no, but I've been to Wawa,
Dude, I tried it just to be like, let me see if this still is disgusting to me. And like, I bought one, and I drank a half a sip, and I was like, oh!
Why?
Yeah. I don't know, just to like fuck with my brain. Because I like doing that shit.
Okay, Drew, continue. I'm sorry we went down this tangent.
Okay, so you're contemplating sweaty meat sandwiches and shitty jail milk. Go.
Yeah, and dude, there might have been a water fountain like 3 feet away, but I was just like,
no idea.
I was mangled at that point. So, and then the like broken open, the bottom moment came after I'd been in for, I don't know, like 10, 12 hours or something. And I started to realize there was no way I was getting out unless I started to, make phone calls. Mm-hmm. And so I called, or I tried to call my parents, but the phone was broke or something. So I had to go through the guard or somebody that was in an office. Mm-hmm. And so I told the guard, I'm like, look, when you call my parents, when you call, like, if my mom answers, just tell her I'm alive first. Like, just say he's alive and blah, 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 whatever you got to say. Because the story that my mom would always spin into, when I would do something and she, was freaking out, was like, oh, I'm going to get a call in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be dead.
Yeah.
So, because like one of my mom's like primary parenting tools is guilt, which, turns out, that's not really great for like a developing being, but whatever.
No. No. And it's kind of funny that we like laugh about that, like, oh yeah, moms. But then like when you really think about it, I'm like, that's terrifying. That's horrible that we put our mothers through that.
Right. Like guilt trips should not be like one of your top 3 choices in parenting.
No, absolutely not. No.
So anywho, that was always her like, her nightmare. And now here it was like the middle of the night and the person calls and I hear my mom like say like, hello, like, like waking up on the phone, coming out of her sleep. And I haven't spoken to my parents in months at this point. And the guard launches right in, or whoever it was, oh, this is such and Sergeant such and such from the,
oh my God,
blah, blah, blah county, blah, blah, blah. And then pauses. And then I hear my mom's voice like, yes. And I could hear in my mom's voice her resignation, like she was prepping herself to hear that her son was dead. And it just like cracked right through me. It just hit me in the heart and the gut at the same time. And like, I feel like that was the bottom that really busted me open. And I didn't get clean right away. I mean, actually, my parents bailed me out for the, however many time. And, I went back home, and about 6 months later is then when I met that psychotherapist guy, and he started recommending the meetings. Because, I knew I didn't want to drool on myself in a jail, on a jail floor anymore. And
that's good self-awareness.
How I was feeling. Right.
Yeah,
but I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? And then I was blessed to find a therapist mentor guy and get plugged into the 12-step program, and then the recovery just blossomed from there. And yeah.
All right.
So what did I do? I was a regular participant in 12 steps for 8.5 years. Worked the steps, sponsored guys, was in service, key holding members, super active. Got to go back to school, get a couple degrees. That turned into being a counselor person and teaching college, which was neat. I opened up my own holistic healing center in Jersey and ran that for a while.
Nice.
And then I got, at about 2.5 years clean, sober, whatever word you want. I got introduced to meditation and yoga, and then that really took off. So, I'm like a regular meditation practitioner. And so meditation is just kind of irreplaceable as far as how I live on a daily basis now. And then with about 8.5 years clean, sober, I went to Peru and I participated in a ayahuasca ceremony. I actually spent 6 weeks in the jungle. And so that was the beginning of having some ceremonial and intentional experiences with plant medicine.
Wow.
Awesome. Wait, weren't we talking about this, guys?
Yeah. We literally were talking about this.
We were just talking about this, yeah.
Keep going.
Please, continue, yeah.
Yeah. So I've gotten to participate in 50 plus ceremonies with as far as sweat lodges, with native folks in North America. And then also it's 20 something ceremonies with ayahuasca, and then also iboga, which is another plant medicine from Africa. And just, beautiful when it showed up. I definitely needed every ounce of recovery and grounding that I had over the first 8.5 years to be able to ride that ride. But yeah, I mean, those medicines have the ability to reach places that I don't know. As a therapist working in therapy for 10 plus years and, receiving therapy for 4+ years, those plant medicines, they open stuff up that it's really hard to get to with just words.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm on a little island in the middle of Thailand on an extended meditation retreat here. Just meditating for a couple hours every day, hanging out, relaxing, watching the world burn.
Nice. That now it officially is a Tarantino film. All right. Well, we definitely have some questions for you.
Just go ahead, David. I know you want to go ahead, so go ahead.
Do you see this, Drew? Do you see the shade that I deal with?
You can't see
on the
this,
East
but
Coast
you
of
can probably
America?
hear it.
Yeah.
You guys are assholes. Anyway, Drew, I think
it feels like.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna cut you off real quick. It feels like the vibe, after a meeting, at the diner, everybody's just cutting loose.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the diner. Yes, that's a good analogy.
That is absolutely right.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. I think all three of us are sort of clamoring to know how do I word this? Can you like describe a little bit more in detail, like how the plant meditations became part of your like recovery, not necessarily just like narcotics, but as an emotional human being, and how that whole experience changed you as a person, and what were the ultimate benefits?
So I guess the first thing I would want to do is like a disclaimer. Like, I am in no way supporting or encouraging people with a background in addiction or alcoholism to ingest substances. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had this conversation with lots of people with lots of backgrounds, and I feel like that's always just important to say right off the rip. Like, whatever 100%. You're doing, if it's working, keep doing it.
Absolutely.
And if that means that anything I have to say is bullshit because, I'm tripping in the jungle or whatever, that's cool. That's fine. I don't care. Just keep doing you.
Yeah.
But I had about 8.5 years clean. And like I said, years of therapy. I've been through the steps more than once, with one sponsor, with a step group, regular meeting attendance. And I was still just like off. I was still like, I wasn't happy. It's like serenity bullshit they were talking about was not my experience.
Yeah.
And, and looking back at it now, I see that I had placed a lot of energy in becoming aware, but not necessarily a lot of energy in like compassion and forgiveness. So I was super aware and super like, conscious of my defects and what was going on and why it was happening, but I didn't have the heart to go with the mind at that time. So I was just like angry and bitter. And, and it was obvious in, different relationship dynamics. And so then my family actually like did a little mini intervention, like sat me down and, and they didn't have answers, but they were just like, look, something's up. And they suggested like pharmaceuticals. And I was not getting off of drugs to go back on drugs. So that was kind of, I wasn't really hearing that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't deny that like I could use some help, and there was something in like owning it and just owning that I needed some help from somewhere, that wasn't me self-willing through the steps or, whatever. And then within a couple day period, it was like ayahuasca, this conversation, this TV show, this, podcast. It was almost like the way I describe it is like it called for me at that point. And so, it was like, all right, I had learned how to trust the universe a little bit in the recovery process. And for me, it's like, if something knocks on your door 3 times, then it's time to pay attention, because I've learned how to screen most of the first thoughts, but then once something is showing up consistently, then it's something to be paid attention to.
Yeah.
And so this ayahuasca knock like cleared those hurdles, and I'm like, holy shit, okay, this is a thing. And like, how am I going to do this as a abstinence-based 12-step member?
Yeah.
And I did some research and I talked to some people and I reached out to a guy that ran a place in Peru, and ultimately it was like, all right, like if I stick around and just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be miserable, which means I'm either going to get high, but I didn't want to get high because I knew that that's a disaster. So I probably would have just jumped in front of a bus or something.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, I got nothing to lose. Like if this is getting high, then I got a head start for when I come home. And if it's not, if it is this transformational medicinal experience, then, then it'll be that.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was amazing, man. It was, they said a lot of stuff that I felt like I knew intuitively, or like I felt like I knew, became like undeniable, and a lot of things moved from my head to my heart, and Yeah. Yeah. And then there was also like certain dynamics of my personality and dynamics of relationships that got brought to the surface. And and the cool part, where I went is you had ceremonies every other night, but then you also talked about it, pretty regularly too. So there was an integration process that was happening while there was also these ceremonies and these experiences. So, I got to I'd be in ceremony and have particular visions or particular things happen. And then, there's a shaman guy who's like facilitating the experience and the guy that runs the retreat center. And then, so I'm sharing with them and the other people that are there and getting feedback and insight. So yeah, it's cool. It's just, it's like dreams while you're awake, essentially, is what the medicine makes possible, is it brings a lot of your unconscious out in a can be visual, but I mean, everybody's experience is different.
Yeah.
But, it actually cued me into how empathic I was. Like I had no clue how sensitive I really am until I started to see. Actually, the one shaman guy said, he's like, you have so much shit and most of it's not even yours. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
Ooh.
And it turned out, that I was carrying, garbage for family members and then working in therapy, I would just take people's stuff. So it unlocked a whole different approach to living that was much more grounded and centered in an energetic understanding, I guess you could say.
Wow. Awesome. Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, man. Cool stuff.
Yeah. Who's next?
I have a question.
Oh, all right.
So I'm just curious to know, if you, through this journey, have stayed in touch with the people that you sponsored or your network in the 12-step fellowship you were involved in, and if so, how did they, react to it, or did you get any backlash? Were people embracing of it? Because I also am a member of that fellowship that of NA, and it's not talked about. It's complete abstinence. That's it, and I commend you on your to say hey, this isn't working for me. I need to try something else.
Yeah.
But being in a fellowship, that camaraderie and that unity that you have, I've seen people turn their back on ridiculous shit. So
yeah, sometimes it can be frail.
Yeah, exactly. I guess fear, other people's fear and perception. So yeah, what was your experience with that, and or if you had one?
Yeah, when I first came back, well, actually, so I shared on the floor and from the table at meetings for weeks, maybe even a month or two before I left, because I had been taught to get honest, and then if there's bullshit, it'll be seen.
Yeah.
And so I did what I was taught in the 12-step program to really get to the root of it, and it was it was legit. So that really helped me feel good. It's I wasn't I didn't see it as moving on from the program. I saw it as, or the way I see it now is it's this is just 11 steps stuff. This is next level. And you hear the stories of, Bill W. himself, exploring later in his sobriety. So there is a path from the abstinence-based 12-step recovery into, something more spiritually oriented. Whether that includes substances or not, is everybody's own discretion and journey. But yeah, so I was sharing about it before I left, and then, and people didn't like that. Yeah. And then when I came back, there was definitely some circles and some meetings where I was less than welcome at again. People, some of the old heads, the guys that don't even take Tylenol for back surgery. Those knuckleheads.
Yeah. The martyrs.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that I was a perfect, target for them. And so I definitely lost some relationships. I lost some of that social currency that comes with clean time in a lot of the fellowships.
Love that. Social currency. Wow.
Yeah. And, but there were also, there were guys that I was in a step group with that got it. and I was sharing with them the whole time before I left. So they were excited when I came back to like hear about it. Mm-hmm. I had one buddy, he had like 90 days and he was like the toughest, which was cool because he was like brand new to the program. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about the experience that I was potentially going to go have. And he would just grill me. And it was good because I got to like really see like, okay, is this bullshit? Where am I lying to myself? And so before I left, he's like, dude, I don't understand how this isn't using. And I was like, oh, okay, for you at 90 days clean, this is totally using. Like, write me off. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep plugged into this fellowship to these guys.
Talk to me in 8 years.
And then what's really cool is that,
yeah, talk to me in 8 years.
Well, yeah, and that's, like about 5 years later, he pulled me aside. He's like, I get it now. I'm like, all right, cool. So
nice.
Yeah. There's some folks I still, talk to, still connect with, because there's some relationships in 12-step programs that transcend that. Are you clean? Are you not clean?
Absolutely.
Survival level acceptance.
Yeah.
And I have a couple, I have a couple people that I just connected to in a way that like I was a little bit of their lifeboat, when I was full blown 12-step and they were out, drinking on the weekends, because recovery is about quality of life. And, and quality of life has a direct correlation for a lot of us to the abstinence of these substances that we, have allergies to or, can't control our use of. Mm-hmm. But, clean time is just the opportunity to get your shit together to then have a cool experience. But a lot of people, they just measure clean time as their worth. And, and I feel like it's unfortunate because then you miss out on what the 12 steps really makes available, which is this like whole other level of experience.
Yes. We were just talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. People put too much emphasis on clean time and not recovery.
Yeah. What were you saying, Eric? You were saying it before we recorded our Just for Sharing.
Are you talking about
Just for Sharing?
When I was trying to get under your skin a little bit about the like where it's just recovery to most people is just empty faith in a like.
You weren't getting under my skin.
Well, it's empty. It's misplaced faith in a lonely basement.
Why were you?
I was just messing with you.
Yeah, yes, I was like, what are you talking about? That didn't get under my skin at all.
It's I feel like a lot of the times with fellowship-based recovery, there's more emphasis on social status within the hierarchy of a fellowship, and like, am I the GSR of my home group? Like, this is how much clean time I have.
It's a lot of standing on ceremony.
This is my value to myself, and like. You're kind of forgetting that like the whole point of coming to recovery isn't to become the best person at recovery.
Yeah.
Like it's to become it's to recover your life. Mm-hmm. And like, I think we put so much emphasis on abstinence as like the status of like, this is what my value is like, I am now clean and sober.
Oh, I was caught in that.
I'm only as good as if I'm clean or sober, and you lose sight of why you originally came to recovery. You don't originally come to recovery, at least I don't think we originally come to recovery to quit drugs and alcohol. We originally come to recovery to become better people. But in like, sometimes when we're going through that process, we lose sight of becoming better people, and we just become better at, the concept of a recovering addict or alcoholic.
Ooh.
Yeah. For somebody, for a lot of us who have like low self-esteem and not really clear understanding of self, it becomes the new target identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the perfect recovering addict is not actually who I drew or whoever this guy is.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like that's really like what recovery makes possible is like we get to be ourselves. And so then the recovery process for me is the same but different journey that is talked about in yoga and is talked about in by every holy roller and every saint that's shown up in every tradition through time. It's like, hey, let's reintroduce you to yourself, which is actually really cool, and lose all the bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like to further on Eric's point a little bit, like just to throw my 2 cents in there. Recovery it's an absolutely amazing thing, but it can also be a particularly dangerous thing, because you're taking these psychologically and emotionally vulnerable people that at that time are very impressionable. Like, like we've heard stories on Podcast Recovery where people get involved in not like 12-step fellowship groups, but like a different form of recovery group, and it turns out to be a cult.
Some other cult?
Yeah, some other cult.
don't forget, there are cults within the fellowship. Like they're just like
the flat earthers.
No, I'm talking about like within the main fellowships, there are like little sects, like you would have like offshoots of like Christianity and stuff, where they take it to a different level.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like in that early phase of recovery, we're so desperate to find a way out that we'll almost grab onto anything we can, and that's what you were saying, Eric. How we kind of create this pseudo identity in recovery that's based off just some random date or what step number are we on?
You have to buy in.
Yeah.
Like in that first like year or two, you have to buy in.
Which is a good thing. Like it's a good thing, but I'm saying like it's a very fine line. It can get out of hand where 8 years down the road you look at what's been going on and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? I've just been chasing this clean time. You've just been chasing a different dragon, essentially. You've been chasing the clean time dragon instead of actually really getting in tune with who the hell you are as a human being, and further beyond that, where you fit as a human being amongst all the human beings, and how your impact has that ripple effect that touches everybody else's lives. And I think that's something that's not talked about in recovery enough, is how we can really form our own identity and then take that identity and express it outwards with everybody around us.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, that kind of, again, spiritual awakenings happen, throughout the whole process, but yeah. I mean, I know also for me though, there's no way I'm having that realization unless I totally drank the Kool-Aid when I first came in. I'm
for sure.
super grateful for how simplistic and how culty or brainwashy the program was in the beginning, because I couldn't get my way out of a wet paper bag. So I needed that then. But, if you're doing the program right, ideally you grow out of, needing diapers and, needing what's the little bouncer thing for the kids have, and you begin to walk on your own 2 feet.
Yeah. And like really quick for anybody who's listening out there and heard the B word, the brainwashing word, like I'm going to just say it the way my sponsor told me. He was like, listen, your mind in active addiction was pretty fucked up. It probably needed good scrubbing. Your brain needed to be cleaned a little bit. Like, and so like, don't, anybody who's listening out there, don't take like brainwashing as like, we're going to turn you into a zombie or anything.
But it's okay to buy in.
You're cleaning up your mind. Yes, right? Absolutely.
Like, people buy into like the Greek life experience on college campuses. You buy into your corporate culture at work. Like, like when I first started my like job a few years ago, I didn't buy in. Now I'm drinking it.
Yeah,
you are for it.
You are like, corporate Captain America, motherfucker. I'm
like, dude, I'm for this company and I will stand behind it. But like a few years ago, I was like, no.
Let me check my 401k real quick.
Yeah,
hold on.
But now I'm like,
that's diversify my investments here.
They have somebody do that for you.
But what I'm saying is,
I got a guy.
You buy into like what until you're able to just kind of do it.
Yeah,
like, and I don't know.
Team mentality.
That's what I offer folks. The guys that I've sponsored and working in treatment. Is like it's 100% surrender for a temporary, like short term. So it's like buy in 100% for long enough to be able to actually sample it and then make a decision whether it's cool for you or not.
I like that. Take just enough testers to make sure you like it. And then switch it up. No, kidding. All right, who's got the next question?
Yeah, it's like, you're not going to determine whether a drug is for you or not for you based upon like half-ass doing it. It's like, no, you fucking do it. Yeah. And you're like, this is what it is. It's the same shit with recovery, man. It just hits different.
Fucking right.
It's like salvia wasn't for anyone.
No, salvia is not for anybody. No.
We talked about that before we started this podcast, too. We're like, salvia is for no one.
And Allie has a legitimate fear that she planted it in her garden accidentally.
I was like, isn't that a plant? Like, I mean, obviously a lot of drugs are plants, but I didn't know that it was like something that was used recreationally to get loaded. I had no idea.
I don't think you get loaded. I think like you fall
useless.
into this. You fall into this like black hole of nothingness.
So it's like K. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's worse.
It's worse than K.
It's worse than ketamine.
God, why would anyone want to do that?
It also smells like fish food, which is really weird.
God.
Also weird.
Yeah,
off-putting.
Weird. It's very weird.
And it did not stop either of you. I just
from smoking it twice.
No.
I did ketamine twice. How the hell do you know?
I did ketamine twice too. Before I was like, wait, I didn't like this the first time. Why did I do it a second time?
But see, I had an excuse.
You had to make sure.
Yes, I had to make sure. Exactly.
Yeah, I've been there just with other things.
My excuse. The first time I did it, I was on a whole bunch of other drugs, so I was like, oh, maybe it like interacted in my blood, and it was just weird. That was weird. So then I took fucking ketamine like strictly by itself, and I was like, oh, this is way worse.
Yeah.
Those other drugs made it way better.
So okay, back to the. Go ahead, Drew.
No, I was going to jump on the war story train.
No, go. No,
what you got?
Come on the war story train, man. Welcome aboard.
Because my initial introduction was it was like ecstasy, and then ketamine was part of the ecstasy experience, and then ketamine on its own, which meant I disappeared into a couch for hours. Then the solution for that was to do the ketamine, and then as soon as you're about to fall into the hole, then you do a whole bunch of cocaine, and then that keeps you up.
Science.
Yes. See, I was already on cocaine, and then I did ketamine.
That's like my thinking for like drugs.
Everything.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so I'm going to take this Xanax, and I'll take this Adderall. That'll counter out the Xanax, and I'll be normal. And then later, I'll take this to counteract that.
You gotta smooth into that zone. The ludes are just falling off.
We all definitely needed a good fucking brainwash.
Exactly. We needed good brainwashing. Listen to us. Like, this is years of recovery talking.
If you identify with this, you need to be brainwashed just for a moment. Just for clear it. Just get like a good stage of your brain. Just clear the gunk.
Dunk it in some whatever for a little while and give it a good scrubbing. Get a loofah.
Okay.
If the image of brainwashing is like, drinking the Kool-Aid or something, then just change it to like having a power washer stuck in your ear.
Or change it to
that sounds horrible.
It does sound pretty bad.
Change it to the way that Alex ends his story at the end of Clockwork Orange.
That is horrible.
I've seen that movie, but I do not know what someone later.
This is devolving very fast. I'm gonna say, imagine it like you're washing a duck with some Dawn. There you go. A nice fluffy duck that has some oil on it, some molten hops and bong resin caked onto that cute little duck. Take some Dawn, get it off, and then pop it back in. Keep it moving.
Right, that's where EMDR came from, right? Was Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, a little bit. I believe it. Okay, so I have a real question.
Did Eric have a question?
No, go ahead, David.
No.
You have a statement.
No, it was a question. I feel like before we went south with this crazy train.
Okay, let's be full disclosure. Fuck Eric. Second thing.
Wow.
So let David go. He's a little
clearly
needy,
his ego needs to go right now.
Go ahead.
This has nothing to do with ego. This is just full attention seeking. Those are two different things. Two different things.
I mean, your Bruce ego is why you need.
I do not think I'm the best person in the room. That's ego. Okay.
You aren't the best person in the room.
I didn't say I was.
Well, you aren't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The cat is the best person in the
Well,
room.
yeah, I mean, we all knew that.
Go ahead.
The cat is better than you, Eric.
No, I know the cat's better. I'm talking about people, not cats.
Cats are
Cats
good
are
people.
people.
Cats are good people.
How dare.
How
Cats
dare
are
you?
my children.
Cats are infinite beings.
Oh.
My theory on cats, I'll give you this to help the segue, is that I think cats are actually infinite, like star beings. And then when they go to sleep and take naps, they wake up as cats.
What?
You
I
just
like
blew.
it.
I actually saw an amazing thing earlier today. They were like, "What if there was just like what was it? Teleporting cats. Like it's in one spot, and then you think it's there, and then all of a sudden it's in a different spot." And the person just replied, "They're like, yeah, that's literally every cat ever."
Yeah.
You just blew David's mind. I feel like David's gonna go home to his cat and just be like,
Who are you?
Where did you come from, bud?
Oh yeah, I'm about to go smoke a whole bunch of DMT and hang out with my cat all night. That's what I'm gonna do.
That sounds like a great
That's what I'm
Friday
gonna do.
night.
I'm gonna be calling Joe Rogan in 3 hours. We'll be good. Next podcast. Kidding, everybody. I'm not smoking any DMT today. So Drew, what tools have you found to help identify and process your emotions?
Yeah, I mean, like meditation is huge, right? And it can be the formal practice of meditation, where I'm like sitting on the cushion and focusing on breath, or just approaching life a little bit more consciously or a little more aware as far as what's going on, and having a certain willingness to lean into an experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel like you got to be willing to lean into a couple things early on. And then once we get to see that, even though the mind is making it seem like it's the end of the world, that actually on the other side of this experience is a whole new world.
Absolutely.
So I just had the Disney song play
A
in
whole
my
new
head.
world.
Yeah.
I went there too.
Yes.
I went right there.
Nice.
Fucking Aladdin. It's a
good.
recovery is a magic carpet ride, everyone.
It really is. If you let it.
Yeah.
Except for, have you heard the theories about Aladdin?
Okay,
It's a
can we not?
post-apocalyptic world.
It's a post-apocalyptic world that's actually super in the future, and like
It's because of the genie and like the first time they meet. And he's, like,
because he
referencing-
says
I
he's
know.
been in the lamp for 10,000 years. Like 10,000 years ago, there was like no civilization. So how did he get there? Because it's actually 10,000 years in the future.
It depends on who you ask, though, because on multiple calendars, this is not 20. It's not 2020. So
Well,
There's actually in multiple cultures. There's this like I think in some of the Indian stuff, the like Indian.
yes.
Like this is the sixth incarnation of the world. Like
This
place
is the
has been
sixth
here and
age.
been a hot mess multiple times already.
Yeah. And I had also a whole discussion earlier today, which it got dark pretty quick, about how in 2016 we actually all died, and now this is the afterlife.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
It's the
Why
only-
am I working? What am I doing this wrong?
Because this is hell.
Okay, but I was doing
There
it
you
before.
go.
I guess it was maybe different.
Yeah,
but
that's why.
So
And they were like, that's the only way
this is
everything in the
also-
last 4 years could make sense. And it's like, okay, all right, I see that.
oh no, it makes perfect sense, man. It's this is the
Yeah.
Remember how ugly and hairy it got at the bottom?
Yeah.
Like towards the end, how dark and like
Yes.
this is
Oh,
just-
yeah.
This
Yeah.
is like an accelerated bottom for like half the world population.
Oh,
I know, right?
And
Can
I'm really hoping for like the spiritual awakening. Like,
Oh, it's
I
coming.
really hope the world, we're not just going to retread for like another like 40 years and just
No.
keep dragging our just
No.
half dead bodies across this gravel pit of
No, I feel
existence.
like that's what the generation before us might have done, but like everybody's a little bit too woke now to have,
Yeah, but the woke aren't in power. That's the thing.
yeah, but
Hopefully.
you got to pay your dues. You got to
Yeah,
sometimes
hopefully.
wait for your turn.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait for your your seat on the.
Feels
Maybe the dinosaurs are about to
Yeah,
collapse. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I mean,
it feels and like we're all just making up stories all the time. Like
Oh, yeah.
the hell.
Yeah.
of the
And it's
act
all
of
made
addiction.
up. It's all
We're
made
just-
up.
Right. Well, right. It's all made up, but it also reflects like the power that we have to invest our attention in our beliefs, which then creates
Yeah.
our experience.
Totally.
like, you know, the hells of active addiction versus how we start to interpret things in early recovery. And I just feel like, you know, those of us, the image that I saw a bunch of times was like D-Day, right? So like Normandy.
Oh yeah.
Where, you know, the U.S. enters the you know, World War II, and they take huge casualties on that beach. But because they are able to secure the beach, they changed the whole war.
Yeah.
And I really, really feel like people in recovery are the ones, right? If we allow this program and process to unfold in our lives, like we're the ones that are taking the beach to change the tide. Like,
I love that.
I've had to learn how to deal with a wild, dirty mind and crazy emotional swings and trauma and, you know, bullshit. And so as a result, you know, my ability to navigate life is like way cooler today. And I've been in a lot of settings where I've gotten to see people in a recovery process teaching normies and muggles about how to live, like how to actually be alive. And
Drew,
so, I mean, for me, that's
you.
like,
I love.
yeah, man.
I'm so glad there's other people that call them muggles.
Also, we did your Harry Potter sorting hat.
We did my Harry Potter sorting hat right before this.
Yep.
Officially, I'm officially a Gryffindor.
Welcome.
So,
Welcome.
yeah.
Nice.
Apparently, I'm a converted Slytherin, so that's a thing.
I think you were lying to yourself.
Hey, no, that was Eric. We got to give it to him. That was fair.
So much,
Fair and square.
Eric.
The past is the past. It was a little seedy.
I'm whispering, and I hope you can hear it, you son of a bitch.
I can hear it.
Yeah,
Because you're in front of a fucking microphone, David.
Yeah, I am.
And that's how microphones work.
You fucking dick. All right. Eric, do you have any questions for him?
I do have a question.
Cool. Eric, Allie, go ahead.
So, okay, so this
I have to MC this circus.
this is a good episode
I
for
love this.
where we kind of like are right now and like our discussions that we've been having over the last few weeks.
I know. The universe sent us you, Drew.
Yeah.
Because like one thing that I've really been, and we talked about earlier today, where I was just like, I think the abstinence, just the mindset that abstinence equals recovery is just total horseshit. And
Yes.
I mean, it just doesn't. Yeah, like I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago, sure. Yeah, my abstinence meant everything, but now I'm like, I don't really fucking care. Like, it's more of like, where am I going, and like, how am I living my life each day? Not really, you know, did I get another day clean? Like, it's like the priorities have shifted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where do you feel like your recovery is going? Like, where, you know, you've mentioned a lot of your, you know, different aspects of your recovery, but where do you see it kind of moving in the future? Like, what new things do you want to try to like bring different aspects into your recovery program?
How to say this? Yeah, I mean, it feels like for me now, it's just it's less of a journey anymore. It's just more like kind of steadying and resting and settling into like presence, like the conscious contact. So what happens is becoming less important to kind of like where I'm experiencing it from.
Wow.
So like, you know, cause I had the opportunity to go back to school and get a couple degrees and, you know, and then I wanted to know everything. So I became a drug and alcohol counselor. Right. And then, you know, got the letters and the licensure, and I've run treatment centers and made the extra zero. And so it's like, I've checked a lot of the boxes that I thought were the things I wanted from recovery. And, you know, and they're all, it turns out that for me, everything outside of myself, or everything that I've encountered so far, it's like cool for a little while, but then it still leaves this like taste for more. And so, you know, then it feels like the direction is like, all right, like let's take it to the belly of the beast then. Like what is it that drives the more? And and it seems to be manifesting in more of like a spiritual kind of experience, a more minimalist kind of, like let go of everything you can let go of net for now, and then be open to letting go of more later. I've also shifted like my primary 12-step affiliation, I guess we could say. It was NA, and now I've really started to invest in the ACA or ACOA program, which is the adult children.
Okay.
Alcoholics.
Of alcoholics, yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
All three of us were.
It's deeper.
I was like, OCOA.
I heard.
As soon as it sounded out the acronym. Yeah. Acronym?
ACA or ACOA. Yeah, I would recommend folks check it out because it just, like, I didn't come from a family where I had like, blatantly, active alcoholics. Actually, both my parents are pretty amazing folks.
Yeah.
But they grew up in really dysfunctional families. Mm-hmm. And so they have a lot of coping mechanisms that aren't super like healthy. And then they taught it to a kid. Mm-hmm. And then, I couldn't, by 15, I was finding as much shit as I could to pump into my system to try to turn life off. Mm-hmm. So now, thanks to all the work I did in, the 12 steps, in the first part of my recovery, and then the meditation and the plant medicine experiences, I'm now at a place where I'm tapping, like deeper shit, connecting with parts of myself that got hidden away, and, like the inner child work. It sounds cheesy. I used to make fun of it all the time.
No, not at all.
It's like, there's definitely parts. I've definitely encountered parts of me that are still like super young and show up in my decision-making process on like a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so it's taking the healing deeper in, because, once we're around for a little while, we start to understand that what's going on out there is as much a projection of what's in here as anything that's actually happening out there.
Ooh.
So it feels like the turn now is like, okay, everything that's out there is the result of what's going on in here. So like, let's put the focus here and, bring some love and kindness, and, so almost like letting the social acceptance piece fall off to just have the self-acceptance.
Ooh. Wow. Fantastic.
This is what recovery makes possible, man. This is the stuff that, when folks get drunk on their clean time, we miss out on.
Yeah, totally. You got anything else, Allie?
I don't know. This has been such a good episode. This is probably my favorite. If I do,
it has been. If
I can say so myself.
Do you guys say that all the time? Though?
No,
you say that all the time.
No, it's definitely our favorite one today.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I have so many questions. I have so many questions, but I feel like I
know
can't.
We'll be talking for like 4 hours.
Yeah, like I can't put the words together, if that makes sense.
We can get them back.
Yeah, true.
We would call you back from Thailand.
I'm game.
You talked about like
No, go, Allie.
No, go.
Okay. You talked about in the beginning about how like you were like an empath as a child, and that like affected you, and I guess your perception of people. Do you think that you still like relate to that empathetic side of you, and that you've learned how to cultivate it through to the 12 steps or your new spiritual journey that you're on? Or, is it something that you've like outgrown, or you've just evolved into something different, something that's not maybe like, picking up other people's energy, but I don't know. Like I am also someone that just sucks up people's shit. Like I always have since I was a kid. And, I just like hearing people's experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we can definitely do more, whether it's formally with the podcast or just chatting, because I'm literally, I'm like meditating and hanging out in Thailand. That's all I do now. So,
so when can we come visit?
Yeah. Do you have room in the bungalow?
Yeah, I think they're letting foreigners back in another month. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Sayonara stateside.
Yeah, well, you'll know in like a month whether or not you need to leave that country very quickly or not.
We're picking up what you're laying down.
Yes, I am on board.
Anyway, moving on.
Back to the question.
Yeah, I feel like I was introduced to being an empath and what that meant when I was in Peru the first time. So it's like 8.5 years clean. So I'd already been working in the field for like 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. So I was doing I was working as a counselor, but picking up everybody's shit.
Mm-hmm.
No,
that's a lot.
I was the counselor because people could come in and just dump all their shit, and I would take it, and then they could leave, and they felt better. But I felt awful. Mm-hmm. And so when I started to learn about that, it was like, oh, I can literally start to navigate experience differently with some intention and some grounding, some centering practices. Just really getting in tune with what I am. Mm-hmm. Because, really raised by a couple codependents, I never had a certain sense of self, it was always I was essentially raised to believe that everything outside of me was more important and that I barely existed. Mm-hmm. So it's been a huge shift in a lot of ways to make myself something that I consider when I make decisions now, instead of just everybody else's feel. Mm-hmm. And just practice, learning more of who and what I am. It's also a huge part of what I'm doing here in Thailand is I'm unplugged from the grid, from the grind, from my family, from, everything that gave me an identity, so that I can really just spend some time and figure out what the heck I even am.
Wow.
And so that's been cool. But yeah, just learning how to navigate, because for a sensitive person or an empath, for someone who might identify as an addict or an alcoholic, or even, somebody with a background with some trauma, mm-hmm. whether it's big trauma or just, CPTSD type stuff, life is really loud. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not because we're wrong or bad or anything like that. It's just we got to learn how to play the game of life with the volume on 12. And
but these go to 11.
Right, exactly. Right. But my uniqueness turned on. So it's not only is it 11, it's 12.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh
wow.
Yeah. So it's just it's getting a feel. I would offer people do things that if you're a little bit into a recovery process, there's a handful of things that really clear you out and lift your spirits or charge you up. Mm-hmm. I would say do those, and incorporate some mindfulness, some meditation, so you're actually paying attention to yourself and what's going on here as far as thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And then you'll start to notice when your mood shifts when you're around certain people, or how your energy drops when you're doing certain things you don't want to do, maybe, and then it just becomes a process of consciously selecting the things that kind of fill you up and letting go of the things that don't, no matter what bullshit you have or reasons or justification.
Mm-hmm. All right.
God, that is my recovery. That is what my journey has brought me to the awareness of. That is my spiritual awakening that I have had. And God, it's so beautiful, right? To be wait, I matter. Yeah. I'm important. I don't have to do a bunch of shit I don't want to do.
Yeah. All right.
Good stuff.
I still have raging debates in my head, when I want to pick something for me. Yeah. I don't participate in them as much now, and they tend to fade a little quicker because I never win those arguments. I always lose those arguments.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. I have one little round table for everybody. So, all right. It'll be quick. So one literary tool you have used outside of a fellowship that has aided your recovery. So one book or something you've read that has helped you in your recovery outside of the fellowship.
You're staring at me, so do you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. 4 Agreements.
The 4 Agreements?
Yeah. Yes, that was such an eye-opening simple.
Written by...
I can't think of his name. I can picture his face on the book. It's like, oh, God, I don't know.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes, Ruiz. Yes,
Wow,
Ruiz.
very good. Very good. What about you, Eric?
I've given out that book like probably dozens and dozens of copies to folks. It's such a great book.
It is easy to read, eye-opening.
The 4 Agreements?
Yes.
All right. Would you recommend it for our listeners?
I would, absolutely. I would recommend it for anybody. Yeah, everybody and anybody.
I'm gonna find it and I will read it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
Yep.
Don't give me some shit answer like, I don't read books,
Bible.
Probably The Power of Habit.
The Power of Habit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I read The Power of Now. I don't think I've even heard of The Power of Habit.
Is it The Power of Now? It's over there somewhere. I don't know. It just talks about like the neurological aspects of habits and addiction and how that plays from not only like a psychological perspective from like addiction, but also how it plays in like, business with marketing and sales. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like blending those worlds, but it also like, it's kind of like one of the first introductions into like the more neuroscience approach, with like reading books where it's not just fellowship based or spirituality based, where it's more like this is science. It makes you kind of question, it really, I mean, this is something that I, haven't bought into for a long time ago, but where it's like, you have willpower.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can change things.
Yeah. You control your life.
So, just believing that you can't is like, I mean, it's just not how, I mean, I get it. If you need something more to like force you to do something, that's great, but it's in you as well.
Yeah.
So all little steps.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Drew?
Is it The Power of Now?
It might be.
The willpower, like, I'm with you on the willpower thing. I think it's also important to own when like our best efforts are just, tightening the noose too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But like we do have the ability to change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
We're the only ones that can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the power of habit.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Okay.
Read The Power of Now.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
I guess we could get into the whole first step debate, but we'll
Right.
yeah, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
We'll keep it moving. All right,
Yeah.
Drew, what have you got? What do you recommend for our listeners?
4 Agreements was a big one early on that it was just very simple, very practical. Mm-hmm. I feel like the working the 12 steps gave me a taste for things that were able to immediately translate into my life, and the 4 Agreements qualifies there. And then if you don't like that flavor, if you like more of like a parable or a story, then 2 things I would suggest to folks is The Alchemist, which is a really cool book.
Yes.
I've heard. Yes.
Another great book. Yes.
Yep.
Just read it.
And the Celestine Prophecy is another
Oh,
one.
yes, the Celestine Prophecies.
Oh, wait, I'm about
yes.
to get this on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Keep going, Drew.
So the Celestine Prophecy is fun too for folks that are, somewhat aware of the energetics of things, because there's some cool ideas there to play with.
Yes, for sure.
And these days, man, it's for me. I carry 2 copies of the Bhagavad Gita.
Very good.
Just because, yeah.
You never know when you need to give one away.
You got to give it away to keep
they're
it.
2 different. They're 2 different. Yeah, they're 2 different translations.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought you were being
so
just like super altruistic. Like, yes, I always have one for the next guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I give them away.
Yeah.
I definitely have given away more books than I've read. But the Gita is just a nice.
Very good. Yep.
I mean, it's just a classic story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's
yes, I am.
It's an Indian text,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a dude. It's a dude who like loses his shit, and then he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then this God guy shows up and is like, all right, hold on, here, let me break it down for you. So it's a nice kind of offering, that I resonate with.
For sure. I'm gonna go a little bit different since you guys kind of all went self-help. I'm going to go more actual literary based, and I'm just going to go with Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. It is nice. Just one of the most powerfully poignant things I've ever read. And I encourage everybody to friggin' read it, because what's amazing about Walt Whitman is he's very celebrated as a great writer. Leaves of Grass was all he ever wrote. It was just one compendium from his entire life. So you can read through his life as you're going through, as he's going through different things. And there's just so much, just very powerful perspective that he has in different parts of his life. He was a merchant sailor, and then he was working in Civil War hospitals, watching people's legs get cut off, and it's just a really fantastic perspective from a different human being. And it's just been very, very cool, and I've read it so many times, and it's just, even in recovery, it's such a playful, but also very powerful way to see different things, just from a different human's perspective, and it's brought me a lot of comfort. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
Can I have an honorable mention?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a book. I cannot think of who it's by. I can look it up, but it's called Conversations with God. It's Neil something.
Neil.
I want to say Patrick Harris.
Neil Donald Walsh.
Yes.
Yep.
Neil Patrick Harris. Yes. Neil Patrick Harris is saving us all.
Neil Donald Walsh. Yes.
Doogie is coming to you with Conversations of God.
No, Conversations with God was a very well written, makes you really think. I don't know. It was a very good book.
Awesome.
I still go back to it sometimes.
Awesome. We're gonna have to keep track of these. I'm going to write these down.
I have a couple of these books. I can bring them.
So do I.
Okay. We'll do a book exchange.
It'll be podcast recovery book exchange.
Book edition.
All right. Well, Drew, you are officially off the hot seat, but we would like to thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Woo! Yay! Our 12-step recovery shows.
Yeah.
Very much an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. Now over to Eric with the media statement.
I still don't love it. I mean, I feel like there's something better we can do, But yeah, well, sorry, David. I'm really kidding. I'm giving you so much shit. But let's do this media statement.
I did say fuck you on air, so it's fair.
And
it's
you've
fair.
been giving you the finger off and on the past hour.
Only once. I gave you the finger once.
Wow, what is going on the other side of this mic?
So,
are you guys? Are you guys definitely showing up on each other's footsteps? Is this a thing? I hope.
Oh, Eric is full on nemesis.
I don't.
You are my nemesis, Eric. Everything you do is the bane of my existence.
I'm trying to think. Let me think about how this would be.
I'm totally kidding. I love Eric, and he doesn't love me. It's
somebody
okay.
Else is
it's a total one-way love fest with me and Eric. It's great.
This is just who we are as people.
Yeah, we love Eric, and he just takes it, and it's okay.
Okay. You are the mean one.
Well, dude,
I am not the mean one. I am totally kidding at all times. I am never genuinely mean.
There's always some truth in.
I think David might hit a 10th step. I don't think he'd make a 4th though.
Oh, that is so shady. That is gutty, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I'd let you get past
so 10. Shady.
Definitely wasn't on my first 4.
I wouldn't to put you on my 4th step.
You don't make the cut.
You water bug.
Might have to call you and apologize later, but.
Wow. Yeah, you'd be like, my bad, I was kind of a dick. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yep. We don't need to dive any more deeper than that. Hey man, my bad.
No, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it at puddle level there, buddy.
All right, guys. So this is our media statement, where we need your help to keep the mics on.
Love that.
Yeah. So you can join our Patreon page and become a part of our home group, or you can throw some money in the digital basket with our PayPal account. We do not have a Venmo account anymore. I said that a little aggressively, but we don't. So Venmo is, that's not an option anymore, so PayPal. And you can like, subscribe, comment, share, and do all of the social media stuff that you normally do with Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc.
Yeah. And for more information about your lovely hosts, Eric, Carly, Allie, and myself, go to podcastrecovery.com. You can also find all of our episodes there, along with little bios, which are fantastic. But most importantly, what have we got to say, Allie?
Stay safe and stay clean.
Nailed it.